"You'll never amount to anything worthwhile," my father told me. Months later, I was a headline across digital platforms. I'd just been recognized as one of the youngest tech entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley. At the annual family reunion, conversations halted when I arrived in my Lamborghini. "My name is Ethan Blackwood. I'm 25 years old and I launched a data analytics company from nothing in Portland, Oregon. In my hometown, achievement is measured by dirty fingernails and weathered skin. My father, Victor, operated a plumbing business for 25 years and judged a person's value by manual expertise. When I chose technology instead of continuing the family trade, the scorn in his expression cut deeper than any pipe wrench could twist. For 4 years, I'd been developing a platform that could analyze consumer behavior better than established corporations. Evenings, holidays, birthdays, all devoted to staring at code while my peers were enjoying their youth. My dad would glance into my workspace, roll his eyes, and grumble something about kids wasting time on screens. Each comment pushed me to work another 3 hours just to prove his assumptions wrong. 3 weeks ago, I caught him speaking to my grandfather during our weekly family gathering. "Ethan will come crawling back to fix toilets by winter," he said, chuckling. That kid couldn't convince someone to take free money. I remained silent, finished my meal, helped with kitchen cleanup, and drove back to my studio apartment to complete the most significant agreement of my career. I was raised watching my father expand his plumbing company from a single van to a team of 15. Every vacation since age 13, I apprenticed with him, installing fixtures, repairing leaks, replacing pipes beneath the Oregon rain. He instilled the importance of dedication, but eventually he confused dedication with tradition. When I received my scholarship to Portland State's computer science program, he barely reacted. "University graduates think they understand reality until they face actual challenges," he remarked, handing me a $50 bill for expenses. That was his version of encouragement. My mother, Catherine, had different values. She privately gave me $750 she'd saved from her nursing income and whispered, "Create something that brings you fulfillment." She never expressed this support when my father was present. During my second year, I created a platform that impressed one of my instructors. "This could transform how businesses understand their customers," she told me. I withdrew the following term to concentrate on building it into something functional. When I phoned home to explain, my mother became emotional. My father disconnected the call. For the subsequent 30 months, I survived on instant noodles and operated from a cramped studio with 2 flatmates. One investor after another rejected me. Too inexperienced, they claimed. Insufficient background. I printed each rejection email and attached it to my wall, not for inspiration, but as documentation of those who dismissed my vision. Michael Chun, my university roommate, remained supportive. He'd deliver meals when I forgot to eat, review my presentations, and consistently believed in my potential. "You're the most innovative person I've encountered," he'd encourage. "Just remember us ordinary folks when you're successful." Meanwhile, my father's remarks became increasingly harsh. During Easter, he introduced me to his customers as "my son," who's still trying to find his path. During Christmas celebrations, he suggested I apply for a supervisor role at his company, since that computer project isn't producing results. I observed how he'd abruptly change topics whenever I attempted to explain my work. How he'd interrupt my explanations to comment on a neighborhood's new construction project. How he never once requested to see what I was creating. On my 25th birthday, I received correspondence from Quantum Ventures, one of the prominent investment firms on the West Coast. They wanted exclusive rights to my technology for $17 million. I reviewed the message 23 times standing in my kitchenette, energy drink warming in my grip. I contacted Michael initially. He shouted so enthusiastically I had to distance the phone from my ear. Then I called my mother. She became emotional again, but with different sentiment this time. I didn't inform my father. 5 days later, I finalized the contracts in San Francisco. The Quantum executives hosted dinner at an establishment where pricing wasn't displayed. The president, a man named Alexander Reeves, raised his glass. "To revolutionary analytics," he proclaimed. Everyone joined the toast. I smiled, yet my thoughts echoed with my father's voice. Worthless boy, you'll never amount to anything worthwhile. That evening in my hotel accommodations, I received a message from my cousin Jason, the only relative who showed genuine interest in my development. Just viewed the TechCrunch feature. Incredible, Ethan, you're recognized everywhere. I accessed my laptop. There it appeared. My identity, my enterprise, my journey displayed across technology publications. 25-year-old innovator signs 8-figure deal with Silicon Valley powerhouse. The article emphasized my age 4 times as if that were the most significant aspect. I closed the computer and gazed toward the San Francisco skyline. Anger had subsided. Hurt had diminished. I experienced clarity, like mist dissolving from mountains back home. I understood precisely what needed addressing. The following day, I entered a Lamborghini dealership wearing casual attire. Salespeople disregarded me until I mentioned my price consideration. 3 hours later, I departed in a green Lamborghini Huracan. Not because I particularly desired one, but because I needed to convey an unmistakable message. I didn't announce my arrival before returning to Portland. I knew my father's yearly Independence Day celebration would be occurring, where he invited all his clients, staff, and extended family to showcase his achievements. I timed my entrance for precisely 3 p.m. when everyone would be gathered in the yard. As I turned into the property, the engine's sound attracted attention before the vehicle became visible. I parked beside my father's commercial van, which had always been his pride, and collected myself. This wasn't about retribution. This concerned finally being acknowledged. I entered the gathering carrying only my vehicle keys. Conversation ceased as though someone had interrupted a broadcast. My mother's expression registered shock. My father stood by the barbecue utensil suspended mid-motion. "Apologies for the tardiness," I remarked, approaching him. Traffic from California was challenging. He regained composure quickly, assuming the expression he reserved for important clients. "Well, look who's decided to make an appearance." He clasped my shoulder too firmly. "Whose vehicle did you borrow for such a dramatic entrance, son?" Guests laughed appreciatively. "I didn't borrow anything. It belongs to me," I stated quietly. "Acquired it yesterday, right?" He nodded, gesturing toward Uncle Robert. "And I'm purchasing a helicopter next month." More laughter followed. I extracted the ownership documents from my pocket and presented them. His expression transformed as he examined them. He folded them carefully and returned them. "Must be convenient having affluent connections who entrust you with their possessions," he commented, returning attention to the grill. "Help yourself to food." Your mother prepared her special salad. Throughout the afternoon, I attempted meaningful conversation. Each time he deflected. When I mentioned the agreement, he redirected to plumbing contracts. When I tried explaining the technology, he suddenly needed to replenish beverages. When his business associate inquired about the TechCrunch article, my father interjected, "Don't trust everything in publications, Mark. Journalists exaggerate everything nowadays." By evening, most attendees had departed. I discovered my father in his home office managing accounts, as was his custom after hosting. "Dad, we should discuss developments with my company." He continued working without looking up. "Nothing requires discussion. You had fortunate timing with some computer concept. Don't assume this makes your contribution special." $17 million isn't fortune, I responded evenly. He finally met my gaze, expression stern. "You understand what established this family? 35 years of physical effort, not manipulating screens, not creating abstract numbers." He indicated a photograph on his wall, himself at 22, standing beside his first service van. "That represents genuine effort. That exemplifies authentic achievement. What I developed is equally legitimate." "Is it?" He leaned forward. "Let me explain something, Ethan. I've observed your type previously. Temporary sensation. You'll exhaust those resources within 18 months, and those California sharks will discard you when they've extracted value. Then where will your position be?" I remained silent. You'll return here, he continued, requesting employment, and I'll need to justify to everyone why my son couldn't survive in practical reality. I exited his office without response. In the kitchen, my mother was cleaning dishes. She turned, drying her hands. He's proud of your achievements, she offered gently. He simply doesn't know how to express it. I disagreed.
No, Mom.
He's not proud. He feels intimidated. The following morning, I received communication from my cousin Jason. Uncle Victor's informing everyone your deal collapsed and you fabricated everything. He claimed you rented that vehicle to create impressions. Something calculated settled within me. Not anger, merely certainty. I spent the subsequent week in Portland residing at a downtown hotel rather than my parents' residence. I consulted with attorneys, financial planners, and my developing team, but subconsciously, I registered rumors concerning my father, myself, and my enterprise. Michael messaged me, "Your dad visited the apartment seeking you," asked numerous questions about financial arrangements. My aunt telephoned. "Victor informed everyone at community gatherings that you're experiencing legal complications with those California representatives. Is everything stable?" Even Alexander from Quantum reached out, just verifying conditions. Someone identifying himself as your father contacted our offices requesting specifics about our arrangement. Naturally, we provided no information. I drove to my parents' property on a Thursday afternoon when I anticipated my father would be working. My mother admitted me. Nervous energy characterized her movements as she prepared beverages. "Mom, what's happening with Dad?" She seated herself, hands encompassing her cup. "He's concerned for you, nothing more. Concerned sufficiently to label me dishonest? Concerned enough to contact my business associates." She lowered her gaze. "You must comprehend how your achievement challenges everything that formed his identity. That's not my responsibility." "No," she concurred quietly. "But he's transforming it into your concern." She hesitated. "There's additional information. The business is struggling, has been for several years. The newer national plumbing chains are undercutting his rates. He cannot maintain competitiveness. This revelation affected me more significantly than anticipated." "Why did he withhold this?" "Pride," she explained simply. "The identical reason he cannot celebrate your achievement. In his perspective, acknowledging your approach succeeded implies his approach failed." I departed from my mother with assurance to resolve matters. But driving away, I recognized the situation extended deeper than anticipated. This transcended my father's pride. It involved his apprehension, fear that I symbolized a future without place for individuals like himself. That evening, I contacted Uncle Robert, my father's younger brother and business partner. We assembled at a neighborhood establishment. "He refinanced the property," Robert informed me, examining his beverage. "4 years ago, invested everything into the business. New vehicles, modern equipment, attempting to compete with corporate entities. It's ineffective." "Why are you revealing this?" Robert raised his gaze. "Because yesterday he inquired whether I believed you might consider investing your technology proceeds in the plumbing operation. He intends to approach you regarding this matter." I considered this information. "He disputes the authenticity of my success, yet desires my financial resources. He acknowledges its authenticity. He simply cannot admit this." Robert exhaled deeply. "Listen, your father exemplifies determination. He created something from nothing, but circumstances evolved while he remained static." Returning home, I passed my father's business premises. Illumination remained active. I parked opposite and observed him through windows, hunched over administrative tasks. Briefly, I perceived him clearly, not as parent, but as an individual exhausting options, clinging to disappearing traditions. I realized then his criticism toward me wasn't exclusively about resenting my accomplishment. It concerned utilizing me to rationalize his setbacks. If my methodology was incorrect, then his approach wasn't failing. It was simply undervalued in an environment that no longer prioritized craftsmanship. The subsequent morning, I received a message from him. Need to discuss business proposal. Dinner tomorrow, 6 p.m. I responded with single confirmation. Confirmed. I avoided dinner attendance. Rather, I dedicated the day initiating strategic actions. Initially, I contacted Alexander at Quantum. I require intelligence regarding plumbing operations in the Portland region, specifically which entities are acquisition candidates and which are expanding. By midday, I possessed documentation of 4 principal competitors in the territory. By 4 p.m., I had appointments scheduled with 3 organizations. Subsequently, I contacted a commercial property specialist. I'm seeking facilities appropriate for a technology accelerator, preferably in Portland's developing district. The following morning, I convened with Bluestream Utilities, the dominant plumbing corporation across the state. The proprietor, Gregory Watson, was aggressively expanding. We've monitored Blackwood Plumbing extensively, he acknowledged after I explained my intentions. Excellent service coverage, devoted customer foundation, but Victor refuses communication attempts. What if I could modify that perspective? I proposed. By evening, I possessed written proposal. Bluestream would acquire my father's company for $1.6 million, twice its current documented valuation, with 7-year employment agreement for my father as regional operations director. His employees would retain positions with enhanced compensation. Additionally, I secured lease arrangement on 20,000 square foot commercial property being transformed into headquarters for my new venture. I was establishing operations in Portland. The final component materialized when I appointed Jason, recently graduated with technology management qualification, as my operations director. Are you certain? He questioned when presented with the offer. I've never managed an enterprise. Neither had I acknowledged. But you believe in what we're developing. That's fundamentally important. For days after missing dinner with my father, I remained unresponsive to his increasingly frustrated communications. Instead, I appeared at his office unannounced, carrying documentation. He glanced upward, irritation evident. So you've decided to honor me with your presence. After disregarding our arrangement, I positioned the folder on his workspace. This exceeds dinner importance. What does this represent? Your substantial investment in my company. His tone communicated mockery. No, it's acquisition proposal from Bluestream. They seek to purchase Blackwood Plumbing. Color drained from his complexion. You operated behind my knowledge. I operated ahead of your perspective. I corrected. The enterprise is failing, Dad. We both comprehend this reality. This proposal preserves your heritage. Your personnel retain employment. You continue as Regional Operations Director with profit participation. So that constitutes your strategy? Intervene with your Silicon Valley connections and assume control of the business I established. His vocal intensity increased. I disagreed. The business you established is deteriorating. This preserves it. He stood, slightly unsteady. Leave immediately. There remains one additional matter, I said, reaching into my jacket. I placed a key on his desk. This belongs to you. He examined it. What does this represent? It's access to my Lamborghini. Consider it appreciation. His expression reflected suspicion. I reject your charity. It isn't charity. It's advance compensation. I proceeded toward exit, then turned back. The proposal expires within 72 hours. Subsequently, Bluestream approaches your competitors. Consider your employees, Dad. Consider Mom. As I departed, I heard him retrieve the key. The following morning, I received message from my mother. He operated the vehicle this morning. Made no mention of it, but he drove it. By evening, my father had contacted Gregory Watson at Bluestream. 36 hours afterward, they established preliminary agreement. I observed remotely, maintaining silence as my father transferred ownership of the business he'd constructed across 25 years. He appeared diminished somehow, seated at that conference table. But departing, with my vehicle keys still in possession, his posture remained erect. 3 months later, I stood upon temporary platform in my newly renovated headquarters. Surrounding me were 250 individuals, my employees, regional business leaders, media representatives, and family members. My father positioned himself rearward, arms folded, still uncomfortable in such environments. Today marks official launch of Insight Analytics, I announced. Our mission establishes data analytics accessibility for diverse businesses, not exclusively technology corporations, and we're honored to accomplish this here in Portland. Applause filled the space. I continued. We're concurrently announcing our initial local partnership. Insight is investing $3 million in Bluestream Regional Holdings, the newly constituted parent organization of several service businesses, including former Blackwood Plumbing. Discussion spread throughout attendees. My father's attention immediately focused. Within this investment, we're initiating technology integration to assist traditional service enterprises competing in digital marketplaces. I'm pleased to announce Victor Blackwood will direct this initiative as Executive of Traditional Industries Integration. The assembly erupted in appreciation. I addressed my father directly for the first occasion. His expression remained uninterpretable. Victor has developed valuable expertise across 25 years. Knowledge that transcends algorithmic programming. Experience exceeding classroom education. By combining his mastery with our technology, we're not substituting tradition with innovation. We're constructing something superior to either independent approach. Following presentation, as individuals networked and celebrated, my father eventually approached me. "You orchestrated this entirely," he stated. It wasn't questioning. "I intend to construct something meaningful," I replied. Everything else aligned naturally. He surveyed the bustling activity, purposeful staff movement, signage displaying my company's identification. "Your identification isn't featured prominently," he observed. "Neither was yours," I responded. Yet everyone recognized who established it. For the first occasion since childhood, I perceived something resembling respect in his expression. Not approval, we'd progressed beyond that relationship, but recognition, one creator acknowledging another. He extended his hand. I accepted it. "The Lamborghini remains yours," I informed him. "Consider it welcoming compensation." Hint of smile crossed his features. "I've already sold it, purchased a truck instead." He paused, then added, "and invested remainder in your company's securities." 9 months later, I sat in my office overlooking the Willamette River. On my desk appeared framed publication from Portland Business Quarterly. Local analytics firm partners with traditional industries, creating 190 new positions. My father and I weren't close, probably never would achieve that dynamic, but we'd established different relationship parameters. Weekly, we convened to review the traditional industries program. He'd begun introducing other business proprietors, electricians, contractors, mechanics, individuals like himself being marginalized by technological advancement. "They don't require donations," he explained during our recent meeting. "They require tools relevant to their operations." And I listened, genuinely absorbed, because his assessment was accurate. The partnership with Bluestream had surpassed general expectations. My father's expertise combined with our technology platform had expanded operations across 4 states. The same employees previously under his management now possessed investment options and improved benefits. My mother had finally resigned from nursing profession and was traveling, an aspiration she'd always maintained but never financially achieved. "Your father actually participated in culinary instruction with me in Spain," she mentioned, laughing during our weekly conversation. "Can you imagine that development?" Michael had joined the company as marketing director. Jason was flourishing as operations executive. We'd employed 40 graduates from regional universities, establishing talent development that didn't require relocation for opportunity. Regarding myself, I'd exchanged proving individual worth for building sustained impact. The $17 million agreement that once represented my complete objective now merely constituted initiation of substantially broader narrative. That evening, departing the office, I passed the display presenting our company principles. At conclusion appeared recent addition suggested by my father during operational discussions. Honor foundations supporting your progress. I proceeded to parking area where my modest sedan occupied space alongside my father's new vehicle. No luxury automobiles remained necessary. We'd both communicated our perspectives. Driving homeward along the river, I contemplated achievement, how I'd previously defined it as disproving my father's assessment, and how currently I perceived it as collaborative development, each through individual methodology. I'd secured validation, though differently than envisioned, not through humiliating him or removing his valuation system, instead by creating possibilities expansive enough to incorporate his experience. By constructing something neither could have independently developed, that represented victory. Not against him, but benefiting both perspectives.